Outlander stars Sam Heughan and Katrina Balfe have come clean. Turns out they cheated to film one of Season 6's iconic scenes. But what makes this scene even more fascinating is the fact that Balfe was super pregnant when they were filming it as well. And while the cast of Outlander sure knows how to keep things fun on set, not every scene is as fun to shoot as it is to watch for us, as you'll see when Katrina Balfe opens up about doing scenes and struggles. But more on that later. First things first, because what is this I hear about Heughan and Balfe cheating? Season 6 of Outlander culminated in a gripping shootout on Fraser's Ridge. Claire and Jamie were pushed to their absolute limits, and if Balfe and Heughan had just kept their mouths shut, we never would have been the wiser. But apparently, not all was what it seemed in that impressive scene. Just to refresh our memories, at the end of the Season 6 of Outlander, Lionel Brown launches a brutal attack on the Frasers' home after Claire had been framed for murder. Claire and Jamie did everything they could to keep the Brown and his gang out, but the barricades they put up weren't enough to keep him out and prevent the Frasers from being taken. That doesn't mean that they went down easy. Far from it. In fact, the couple looks terribly convincing in their fury.
So close I could smell the ancient sweat of her. Dieu un chat. Toi, she said.
She said you were a cat.
I tried to pull away, but she held firm.
And there's just no reason to think that there's something fishy going on here. But we were tricked, and Heughan and Balfe finally decided to confess the truth about that particular scene. The long-standing co-stars talked about it all in a new behind-the-scenes feature from the wildly successful series. We never actually reloaded the guns, Heughan admits in a whisper. As it turns out, the actors were told to just fumble around a bit with the guns, pretending to be reloading, and then they would be reloaded for them. But they managed to make it look so convincing. And just so you know, actors in similar period movies and dramas are often trained to handle historic weapons down to the excruciatingly slow process of reloading, gunpowder and ammunition and all. But I guess the showrunners of Outlander decided that it would be much easier to have the cast just pretend to know what they were doing. You know, just give us the illusion of reloading. While I'm sure there are people who know how to actually reload their historic gun, like historic weaponologists, and actors who were put through some historic gun reloading 101. But for the rest of us, there's not really a difference, is there? Well, except that we now know that they were cheating in that shootout scene in Outlander. The funny thing is, both Heughan and Balfe seem to be well aware of what process actually entails. And even if they ended up lying to us a little bit, Heughan admits that he did have a lot of fun. He added that it seemed to him that they hadn't gotten to do much action for a while, so he enjoyed getting to run around screaming and shouting. Balfe, on the other hand, did have some worries. And at some point during the scene, she accidentally breathed in when she had just pulled the trigger. And as you may have noticed, when you fire one of those historic guns, there's a little puff of smoke that gets released. And somehow Balfe inhaled one of those puffs. Needless to say, that's not ideal when you're pregnant. Luckily, nothing bad resulted from the little incident, and Balfe gave birth to a beautiful baby boy in August of 2021. As you can probably imagine.
Louder. I'm running for my life through quicksand, every footfall sinking me deeper and slower as the monster gets closer and closer and closer, and a fierce whinny. A curse.
There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes than we'll ever know, even with these cheeky little behind-the-scenes clips like the one we just talked about. There will always be things that aren't really in the front of your mind when you're watching something, especially when you're watching a show like Outlander, because of course the story is a main driver for the scene's huge success. But let's admit it, we don't just tune in for the sweet moments when Claire and Jamie support and love each other unconditionally, or they magnanimously sacrifice their own safety for the sake of the other's well-being. While those moments are absolutely great, even if they do kind of screw with all of our couple goals, but that's another story. We also watch for those steamy, sexy times. And if there's one thing we Outlander fans know, even before we've seen a scrap of new footage of an upcoming season, it's that Claire and Jamie Fraser will end up taking a trip to Pound Town sooner or later. In the end, it's their love for each other that holds the entire story together. And, well, the birds and the bees, right? In short, Outlander is known for its deep and passionate love story, and that occasionally comes with a spicy scene here and there.
And Lord John, how delight him today.
You will do right, my Lord John. As for the people on the ridge, well,
But have you ever considered that it's not all that sexy to actually have to perform the scene in real life? Katrina Balfe opened up about what it was like when she and two of her co-stars, David Barry and Tim Downey, sat down for a chat on the Outcast podcast. And when the conversation turned to the love scenes, Balfe explained how she was constantly torn between the knowledge that Claire can't actually go to the gym, so she shouldn't have to have a gym body. Not to mention, she's a lady who is well in her 50s by now. And then things were also very different back in the 1770s.
Well, I mean, something like that was so weird for me because it's like, you know, the Brazilian bombshells and like, I don't know, I'm just not like that. And I was the whitest girl on the stage, and I'd gone and I'd gotten a spray tan.
Of course, it has always been important to take care of your body. It's just that taking care of your body didn't mean what it means now. People kept in shape through hard physical labor, which I'm sure was very effective. But that still wouldn't result in the bodies that some enthusiastic people of our day have, and people who rely on their bodies to make a living, like actors. But even if you're portraying someone from the 1700s, you're still human. You have your own personal shame and vanity, and all of those things, Balfe admitted. And she isn't the only one of the Outlander cast who's had their worries about having to show the world their birthday suit. Barry, who plays Lord John Grey, confessed that he had some fears about signing on to the series when he first signed his own contract for Outlander.
I have a particular fondness for reformed Jacobites.
and how is William?
Nearly as tall as me, and he bests me at chess almost every game. Well, I hope to have the honor of playing with him one day.
He also said that it's only natural for an actor's thoughts to turn to shame. Most people would rather have their private parts remain private, if possible, but they all knew what they signed up for and are absolutely okay with it. And by the way, these days, they also have the help of an intimacy advisor for the more spicy scenes as well.
No, you're not much of a cook.
Thank you very much.
Remind me of some virtues. Perhaps I missed one.
Which has been especially helpful in scenes like Marsali's birth and scenes for Balfe, given that she was pregnant during the filming of some of them. And even if Balfe knows that her character doesn't need to have the perfect gym body, signing up for any kind of scenes that ask you to be naked are difficult, because it will always force you to unpack any of your own insecurities to be able to lose yourself in the scene, as Balfe so beautifully put it herself. But I have to admit, they all have that acting thing down, don't they? Because they have been fooling us with a lot of things lately. They never even reloaded their own guns, and Balfe was pregnant all along. Who would have thought? But that's why Outlander's Sam Heughan and Katrina Balfe claim they cheated to film that iconic scene, and Katrina Balfe opened up about doing scenes and struggles.